Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to part 2 of our deck strength versus weakness series for the month of September. Remember, our featured deck of the month is the Soul Cats Tarot, and this video we're going to cover perfect pairs, so decks that actually pair with the Soul Cats Tarot. And this is the Tarot edition. And just to let you know, I will be giving you indie decks first, and then we will go through mass market. There's actually quite a few decks. But I usually keep it around 10 to 12 different decks to show you. I try to make it an even split. That doesn't always happen, but we'll see what we can accomplish here. Just as a brief recap, we are going to back up to one of our previously covered decks of the month, and that is the Tarot of Oneness. Of course, with the Soul Cats Tarot being about manifestation and energy, and the Tarot of Oneness being about connections and self-care, these two work beautifully together. So when it comes to making the right connections, getting things in order to manifest and to connect with energy, much needed energy, maybe missing energy, or to utilize energy in a way that is not a detriment to yourself, the Tarot of Oneness really works well with the Soul Cats Tarot. I would say that was one of the, I guess, heavy hitters, if that is an apt description. And to back up even further for a previous deck we've already covered, we have the Beautiful Beast Tarot. Now, this is a pip deck, but it's also an animal energy deck. And one of the things I've discovered is how the Soul Cats Tarot here responds to animal energy. Sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it is not so much. So just like a cat, the Soul Cats Tarot can be really picky about what animals it chooses to interact with. Now, the Beautiful Beast Tarot and the Soul Cats Tarot have no issue. And of course, the Beautiful Beast Tarot is a pip deck, and it is about connections. So just like the Tarot of Oneness, it does pair and utilize the energy very well with the Soul Cats. The animal energy in each card, which is different throughout the deck for the Beautiful Beast Tarot, does not hinder the Soul Cats in any way. They totally get along. We're going to keep moving right along, and I apologize I'm not spending too much time on each deck. We're trying to keep the videos not to be an hour long, but the next deck is the Bloody Tears Tarot. It's one of my mixed media decks here. It's a Kickstarter deck. It's a vampire themed deck. It's also a shadow work deck. Interesting thing about the Soul Cats Tarot is it can handle a fair amount of shadow work decks, darker decks that you'd think there might be a little bit of a hiccup with. Oh no. When it comes to your manifestation, if there's anything hindering you, this deck actually likes a majority of shadow work decks to show you where that issue is, where the resistance is. So if you need a clarifier for the Soul Cats Tarot when it comes to problems, don't hesitate to grab a shadow work deck to try it out. Now, that's not to say that every shadow deck will work, because I do have some on my anti-pairs list, but don't be afraid to try it. And for this particular deck, the Bloody Tears Tarot, this deck a lot of the times handles emotions when it comes to how you feel about things and the shadow work needed that stems from those emotions. So when it comes to manifestation, if you have emotional hang-ups, these two would probably be a good pairing to try and figure things out with. Moving right along, another indie deck, and yes, this is my indie copy. I do have a mass market version of the Unfolding Path Tarot, which is what deck this is. But they wanted me to grab the indie version for this particular video. And for those that don't know my collection all that well, I of course have had the indie version since it came out. I suppose I should show you some cards. And it is actually taking the place as my #1 spirituality deck. So when it comes to utilizing your spiritual gifts and harnessing those to create, to, attract things. But surprisingly enough, the Soul Cats Tarot likes spirituality decks. It really does. I think there's only one in my entire collection that I found that really doesn't pair. The rest do. It actually enjoys spirituality decks. It's apparently one of the stronger ways for it to pair. And I would almost say shadow work decks are something that the Soul Cats Tarot also likes to try and pair with. Granted, that's hinged on a couple of things, actually 3 things, and I will show you those in the anti-pairs section. And we're going to keep moving right along, because I have one more indie deck to show you, and then we will jump right into our mass market. And this is the Baroque Tarot, for those that are not familiar with it. And of course, this is a shadow work deck. And just like with our Bloody Tears Tarot, this one is quite useful to utilize with the Soul Cats to reveal where your hang-ups are. The things that maybe you haven't realized or can't see that are hindering you. And aesthetically, as you can see, these are 2 very different decks. But of course, as always, it's not about the aesthetics, it's about the energy. And these 2 have no issue. They have no beef with each other. So these are 2 good ones to try and fix problems with. Alright, still trying to be brief with our commentary here. We're going to move on to mass market decks. And as you can see, I pulled out one that is quite overly large. Yes, this is a tarot deck. This is the Angel Wisdom Tarot by Radley Valentine. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it is an oversized deck. It's the same size as a Oracle deck. And just as the name suggests, it has angel energy in the deck. As you can see from this 3 of Swords. And believe it or not, this is one of the few angel decks that I have that the Soul Cats does not mind. And since, the Angel Wisdom feels more like the self-help spirituality deck, and the Soul Cats does not seem to mind the angel aspect, which is apparently very rare for this deck. If you are one that likes to commune with your angels, or you use angels in your practice, this is a pairing that you might actually enjoy. And we're going to keep moving right along. And the next deck we have here is the Heaven and Earth Tarot. by Jack Sethroth and Jamie L. Ford. This used to be my #1 spirituality deck. This is actually the deck I learned on. And as you can see, it's very muted, it's very dark, but aesthetics aside, like I previously said, the Soul Cats Tarot tends to enjoy most of the spirituality decks. And this is one that I would have to say, if you want a deck to push you, because one of the problems that I had for #1 spirituality placement for the Heaven and Earth is that it was kind of harsh. It was not a gentle deck. But if you want a pairing that you can utilize to use your gifts and that will push you, pairing it with the Heaven and Earth Tarot might actually be the thing that you're missing. Simply because this deck will push you. It will call you out. It is not exactly the gentle nurture deck that the Unfolding Path Tarot is. I'm going to keep moving right along. We have another mass market here that you probably recognize the backings of without me having to announce what it is. This is the Green Witch Tarot by Anne Mora. The Soul Cats Tarot feels like summer, or summer into fall for a season. And of course, it gets along just fine despite any witchy influences of the Green Witch Tarot. And the Green Witch Tarot feels like fall. So seasons match fairly well with these decks. There's no issues. I mean, there's a couple animals and stuff, nature scenes depicted in the Green Witch Tarot, even fairies. And the Soul Cats Tarot does not mind it whatsoever. So any influences of animal energy for the Green Witch does not halt the Soul Cats Tarot whatsoever. So if you're a big fan of the Green Witch Tarot and you have it in your collection and you're curious about whether or not you can bond with the Soul Cats, this is definitely a pairing that is doable. They get along just fine if that piques your interest. And of course, one deck that I've already mentioned, and part 1 was the Mermaid Tarot. And I love these decks, and these do get along very well. And like I said, they have the same job, but they have different weaknesses. So, they can expand on each other quite well. And of course, cats like fish, and apparently because they have the same job, the fact that this is half fish, half human, the animal energy of the deck doesn't get in the way of the Soul Cats Tarot, which is quite interesting, especially when we get to our anti-pair series and we have a couple hiccups when it comes to animal energy. So if you're curious of what that is, stay tuned. You'll see that in a few days. Alright, and I have one more deck to show you, and it is another animal energy deck that is totally acceptable. This is the Tarot of Dragons by Sean McKenzie. A lot of you probably recognize the backings. This is a well-known mass market. And I know that's so weird, dragons and cats, because they're both animal themed, but apparently the Soul Cats ignores the animal energy due to the strength of this particular deck. And eventually maybe this deck will be featured as the deck of the month at some point. Spoiler alert, the strength of this deck is dreams. So when it comes to manifesting your dreams, utilizing your energy to make your dreams come true. Oh yeah, these are a pairing that you probably want to take advantage of. They're quite interesting together. And as you can see, aesthetically, they are different. Even the Soul Cats Tarot, which I don't ever think really as muted, looks kind of dull compared to the vibrancy of the coloration in the Tarot of Dragons. And they're quite different. Yet, what comes out of the pairing is very noteworthy. Alright, my lovelies, that is all the decks I have to show you for today. I do have more listed in the description box down below. Feel free to expand that and see my full list of decks that actually pair with the Soul Cats that I've discovered thus far. These, of course, are decks that I have in my collection, both new and old, because I have acquired quite a few decks in the last couple of months. And if you are curious about, like I said, the Beautiful Beast Tarot, the Tarot of Oneness, the Light Seers Tarot, decks I've already featured. I do have a deck strength versus weakness playlist, a perfect pairs, and an anti-pair playlist. Please go to my channel, hit on the playlist tab, and select those playlists. You can watch the older videos as needed, as necessary, as the series goes on if you have missed out on anything. And as I've mentioned in the former video, I will list these consecutively, so I will be airing the Perfect Pairs Oracle on the morrow. Tomorrow you will see it. You will have it, I promise. And with that, if you missed part 1 of this 5-part series for the Soul Cats deck of the month, expand the description box. I will link the previous videos for the month in the description box. So if you come in at part 4 and have missed parts 1 through 3, they will be listed in the description box for your usage. Alright, my lovelies. What did you think about any of these for pairings? Do you think they are good ideas, bad ideas? Do you have any of these? Have you tried them? What works for you? Let me know. I'm curious to know. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.